Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Recently, I planned and set in motion events to execute the perfect bank robbery. That's also the when. As for the why, beyond the obvious financial motivation, it's exceedingly simple. Because I can.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Guess what? We are live at just after 9 o'clock.
We're live actually. We went live dead on 9 o'clock.
My clock is showing 9:01, but come on, this is just a miracle on our behalf. This is the first time we've been live. Now, this is no offense to you, but this is the first time we've been
this is
live
no offense to
at
me.
9 o'clock since you've taken over, which has been about a year and a half, 2 years now. You've been doing all the
Can I point out?
scenes.
Can I point out? Since I took over, we did have times that started before 9 o'clock, and you then moved it to 9 o'clock. But before those times, I did manage to get on before 9 o'clock.
Yeah, but okay, then going back to the times when we've officially had starting times, so we've gone from 7:30, which was the original starting time of the show, back nearly 5 years now ago.
Couldn't let me have it. Couldn't let me have it.
Moved to 9 o'clock, but yeah, this is the first time we've been live on the time that was scheduled to go live in about 2 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Unless I've taken over when you've been ill or unable to actually do the show. But we are live on the 4th of April 2016 at 9:02. And trust me, I'm not going to go through that tonight. You're fine. I'm letting you off the hook from now on in. We're actually here to review films instead of getting on each other's nerves like we normally do, or me pointing out the fact that it is 9:02 or when the clock changes to 9:03. I will not do that anymore. I promise. That's the last time. So what we're reviewing in the cinema section?
We have the Dexter Fletcher's third movie. I think it is third movie.
Yes.
Directorial. With somewhat true story, Eddie the Eagle. And we have I don't know what language it is. It's a foreign film with Victoria, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Spanish, German, English.
Yeah, so it's all over the shop.
And it's a one continuous shot
Yeah.
movie. Literally, this actually is, even though you've heard it from other films before, saying that the whole film's a continuous shot, this actually is a one continuous shot film. But I'll get onto that a little bit later on. And on Blu-ray and DVD, we're looking at these films.
We have the Scottish movie Sunset Song. We have Lily Tomlin returns to the screen for quite a long time since her last appearance in Grandma. We have Martyrs. We have the proper review of Kill Your Friends, because we did review it a little while back incorrectly. And then we round out with The Veil and Jerusalem. Or Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. On top of that, we have TV movies of the week, our overall movie of the week, the Blu-ray and DVD top 10, the UK box office top 10, but we have some movie news, a lot of movie news actually.
Yep, a few pieces I've got, just quick ones. I suppose my biggest piece I've got here is about Deadpool, which is now the highest grossing X-Men film according to Box Office Mojo. It has now overtaken the last movie to be the highest grossing of the X-Men films was X-Men The Last Stand, which is the worst one of them. It's the third film, the one that Brett Ratner took over, which had taken worldwide 747.9 million. Deadpool has now beaten that, taking 754.5 million. Of course, this doesn't count anything for DVD and Blu-rays and such and like all that, because it's just the box office takings. But it means that Deadpool has overtaken that and is still showing in quite well in some places to rake in a little bit more. So, I mean, the highest grossed X-Men film. You know?
Well done for it on that front.
It deserves it, because it
definitely.
is the best of all the X-Men films. It's weird to say, but it's just such an oddball film.
It's the most inventive one out of them.
Mm.
It's the one that's willing to break its own rules. Whereas if you look at the X-Men films, they always seem to be quogged down with following it by the letter. So yeah, well done for that. And it's a superhero movie that's entertaining. It's not drab. It's not got forced humor in it, even though it's got the very typical last 20 minutes action set piece. But it's just got humor in it. It's bright. It's brash. It's funny. It's over the top. It's insanity.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of superhero movies that seem to be released as of late and released last few years have been bogged down by it being meandering and sitting in the corner moaning like an emo.
I'm looking forward to the next one because I love the first one, and the second one, as long as they can keep that up, that momentum, that humour, then I will love that just as much, I'm sure.
Yep.
Other movie news, again into sort of the Marvel storylines things here, we've got it's been reported on the BBC website, a little thing that's maybe given away what the next Spider-Man movie may be called. They've confirmed that the website has been registered by Sony as Spider-Man. Sorry, I'm going to get this right again. Spider-Man Homecoming the Movie.com. So it's been registered for Sony. So I mean, this is what's happened before with things. I think this is how people found out the name of Skyfall as being the 23rd Bond film. So what do you think of that, Spider-Man Homecoming?
It's a bit lame, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. I thought they would do something, just like the Incredible Spider-Man, or the new one, some kind of a new way of doing Spider-Man. Not just Spider-Man the Homecoming.
It sounds like either a horror movie sequel, which there is a Silent Hill game called Silent Hill Homecoming, or B, it's like he's gone away and then just coming back home. Like he's an 18-year-old person traveling around the globe and then decided to come back after having 1 year gap year, and then going back to his parents going, "Oh, the gap year was fantastic. Now I'm coming back home to rid evil again with my webs and stuff." Is
that Spider-Man, the incredibly camp gay Spider-Man?
Well, it's very campish British kind of gear, and I've gone for a British actor, so.
No, I mean, whatever happens, we'll find out. I expect sooner than the film's release, because the film's due out in July 7th, 2017. But we'll probably find out sometime in the next few months when they get it all finalised and everything. It may be that they've registered that. They may have registered a few different domains, because sometimes companies do that. They do register a few and then go, we'll do that one. They find out. I expect if they're doing that and they're going to get feedback from this, I think Spider-Man Homecoming will probably not be considered to be a great title by a lot of people.
Yeah, why don't they register www.spiderman.why-the-hell-are-we-keep-on-rebooting-this-series.com?
Would you have preferred to keep Andrew Garfield? Because I would have preferred him to keep Andrew Garfield.
At least give him a third film, because they did that with Tobey Maguire. They actually milked him dry, so they might as well do that with Andrew Garfield and see if they can do a movie where it has one of the most preposterous endings possible.
I suppose it's more the fact of that having this one, having Spider-Man appear then in Captain America Civil War, kind of legitimizes that. Then if they recast and had Andrew Garfield again, it would have kind of legitimized the other two as being in the Marvel world, whereas they are technically not, because that was a Sony standalone sort of projects. Then this is one that's joined between the two of them.
Still.
Yeah. My other piece of news I've got is a little bit of casting news. Don't have any sort of details on it, what role or anything he'll be playing. But apparently Aid Edmondson of the Young Ones and Bottom fame has been cast in Star Wars Episode 8.
Couldn't resist that, sorry.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do that. As soon as I was noting this down earlier, I was like, Stuart will say
Bottom. Yeah, he's either going to play R2-D2 or an Ewok.
I don't... Yeah.
That's all you can see, or just... Yeah.
No. No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
On to the news that I've gotten before we came on air. I was looking at a bit of a news story, waiting for it to actually, more information to come to light about it. But both websites, digitalspy.com and Bloody Disgusting, are reporting that Beetlejuice 2 might not have Michael Keaton in the role of Beetlejuice himself. Instead, because Keaton thinks that his career has gone in a different turn and he no longer wants to supposedly play Beetlejuice. He wants to do more movies like Birdman and Spotlight. It looks like Tim Burton might be going to an old friend, and it is rumoured from both websites that Johnny Depp is the one that's going to be taking over from Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice.
Yeah, you were talking to me about this because we were literally trying to get an update of this before coming online, and you were saying about it. I honestly cannot believe that. It sounds like a horrible thing. It sounds terrible. It sounds believable, but it just sounds like, oh no, why? Just don't bother.
Yeah, but the thing is though, Burton has got his new movie coming out this year, Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Yeah.
He's also got the reboot of Dumbo for Disney to do, and so this film would be after Dumbo. So he's still got another film to do, one more other film to do before this. So this wouldn't even start shooting until at least early next year, middle of next year. So Keaton could turn around and just go, you know what, I will play Beetlejuice still. But it is the on-off kind of thing, isn't it?
Do you think it could be a negotiation tactic with him now that his career has kind of had a big rise? That he's maybe thinking, oh, you know what, I can get a bit more out of this. I don't really want to do it, but I'll do it if they pay me more.
Possibly. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But please, no Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp pretty much ruins everything he touches at the moment, anyway. And that's why I said pretty much ruins. Not everything, but pretty much. Mordecai. More news.
That was pretty awful.
In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Black Label Media have confirmed that a sequel to Sicario is happening. Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro and Josh Brolin are set to return. However, it's unknown if original director Denis Villeneuve will helm the project. It's a weird one, isn't it, to get a sequel?
I mean, I can see it, but I just
It's not one of the movies that was released in 2015 where you look at it and think, oh, that's
yeah,
gotta get a
sequel. Yeah, exactly. It's definitely got that whole sort of what. Yeah, I don't know really how to feel about this because I'm literally just learning about that when you're telling me about it. Because I did like Sicario. I didn't think it was Denis Villeneuve's best film. That's still Prisoners, but I had issues with it, and yeah, I'd rather have a sequel to Prisoners than I'd have a sequel to Sicario. Well, I'd rather have something. You could easily have something else, you know, following either Hugh Jackman's character or following, preferably, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, maybe on his next case, and he finds there's something similar or something. You know, that would I would go and see that. And Prisoners had a bigger draw, so Prisoners would be the kind of thing that would definitely get more. And it's got, there is as much potential there for a sequel with Prisoners as there is really to Sicario.
Yeah, they're definitely true, and he has got he is working on the sequel to Blade Runner, so he'll obviously want to try and get that project done more so than do a sequel to Sicario. So it'll probably go off to somebody else if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean yeah, it is. I'm very kind of on the fence of this.
Yeah, on to other news. According to the tracking board, Robert Letterman, the director of the Goosebumps movie, is to helm the Dungeons and Dragons reboot.
Okay, similar kind of style needed, so I can understand that. Do we need someone to do Dungeons and Dragons after the last one? And I mean the last one, when I say the last one, I mean the first one, because there have been, 3 since or something that was straight to video? Yeah, and the first one was awful. Although the first one didn't follow. They need to do Dungeons and Dragons. Hopefully, it's based on. For me, I would love them to base it on the animation. I know they'll probably be doing it based on like World of Warcraft, based on the board games and the books. Yeah. And I think the animation, because the animation had a story. You know,
I would love them to go with the animation, because I absolutely loved the TV series in the late 80s. So yeah, I would definitely love them to go down that route there. And if they are going with Letterman, he pretty much did that with the Goosebumps movie. He brought R.L. Stine into the forefront of it and put him into the movie, and so he made it centered around the books. and the books were involved heavily in the film as well. So he might look at the TV show and go with that.
Either that, or if they did some kind of a mix of the two of them. If they had the main characters playing Dungeons and Dragons and then got sucked into the Dungeons and Dragons world they were playing.
So like Jumanji.
Yeah, but I mean that would work in both worlds. It would have the characters from the cartoon, and have them turn into the superheroes they become in they all received abilities and gifts, didn't they?
Yeah.
So do that and have that be and have it just be that they're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then something happens and they end up in the Dungeons and Dragons world. It'd actually be the reverse of Jumanji, because in Jumanji they come out of the book, whereas this would be going into the book, so it would be going into a strange world.
Yeah, so a mixture of a few kids' films. Paul Feig has said women in all of his films will be paid exactly the same amount as men. That's the only thing I agree with Paul Feig at the moment. Well done, Equal Opportunities. We'll just gloss over that story quickly. David Ayer is reshooting some scenes in the Suicide Squad movie to supposedly make it a bit more lighter. That's according to Birth, Movies and Death.
Yeah, what do we think about this? Because I mean, it seems reactionary to to reactions to people have having with Batman v Superman. I was discussing with people about this. I think the problem is because the thing that Marvel has been good in doing, and I hate doing the whole Marvel versus DC thing. I'm not doing it like that, but I'm just doing Marvel as an example. What Marvel has done, especially recently with their films, is that they've basically gone, these aren't comic book films, these are whatever they are. And Captain America Winter Soldier was kind of like a political thriller. Loads of action, but a political thriller aspect to it. Ant-Man was a heist film. Doctor Strange looks like it's going to be a kind of a horror supernatural sort of thing. So, I mean, they've branched out from being comic book films that they don't actually have a comic book genre anymore. But is Suicide Squad one of these films that it has its own genre? Are they making a type of film, or did they go, oh, we make a comic film, and then they're going, oh, right now we need to make it a black comedy film?
I don't know, but time for a swear word. It's boo hockey. It's absolute boo hockey. And you thought I was actually going to go harder than that, weren't you?
No, I didn't. I'm actually. It's kind of like, it's one of those ones that's like, it's almost like it's a word you use to swear, but then you kind of get to end the conversation because everyone goes, "What the heck is boo hockey?"
Yeah, or when you watch Battlestar Galactica and they say the word frack.
Yeah.
Without out of context, or when you speak to somebody, you say the word frack. They go, "What's frack?" I always thought fracking involved drilling down into the earth to find oil.
Yeah.
So watch Battlestar Galactica. Speaking to the BBC Hard Talk programme, Hans Zimmer has confirmed he will no longer be doing scores to superhero movies. His reason is down to how hard they are to actually score.
I see. The thing is, he's just done Batman v Superman, and he did Batman v Superman with Junkie XL, who I think he trained or he worked with at some point, but he basically works in the same shop, And the thing is, I think that it's more a case of that. I think it's that he's getting tired of them. I don't think it's that they're hard to score, because I don't think they're particularly hard to score. I think that he's honestly just a bit tired of them because he's done a lot of them recently. He did Man of Steel, and the thing is, when he's done Batman v Superman, he intentionally avoided doing the Batman score because he'd done a Batman score before for Christopher Nolan's trilogy. So he just did the Superman parts, and he just did them basically reusing the music he did for Man of Steel, which I have no problem with, because it's nice to have the same themes going through it. But it just means that Junkie XL, I can't remember what his proper name is, but he did the actual proper score for all the Batman sequences. And so Hans Zimmer didn't really have a lot to do on Batman v Superman.
He just wants to get away from them.
I mean, I understand that, but it's a shame because he does do some great scores for action, and if there's anything that comic book movies have over anything else, it's action.
Yeah, I'll quickly go over this news story because it's a bit of a controversial issue, but I just thought I would actually bring it up because it's an interesting news story in itself. But Jeepers Creepers 3 is stalled due to Victor Silva, who was the director of the Jeepers Creepers series. It's down to his past. Obviously, he was convicted of child molestation charges back in 1989, and he was sent out a casting call for a character, an 18-year-old person to play a 14-year-old character who supposedly gets killed in Jeepers Creepers 3. And now the Canadian Film Board took down his request because of his previous charges that happened with him, and now it's looking like the movie is stalling until they can find somewhere of being able to get somebody to play this character, whether it goes ahead or not, or whether they just boycott the entirety of the movie. But it's looking like he'll definitely not be able to go to the Canadian Film Board no matter what to try and get it resolved, or try to get any actors involved in the film itself. So unless other film boards allow him to seek an actress to play this character, remains to be seen on what will actually happen with the film itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that's happened. It's occurred with his previous films before, with issues with the release going back to things like Powder, and I don't think it had an issue with the first Jeepers Creepers, but certainly with the second one.
But it's come to light obviously again, and so it is, for what he did in his past, is actually coming back to haunt him again to try and get a film off the ground, or get he's got at least the two lead actors, the ones who were involved in the original Jeepers Creepers, Justin Long, and I can't remember the female character, I can't remember her name, but he's got those two on board, and he just wanted to cast somebody to play the 14-year-old girl. Obviously he wasn't able to do that, and trying to get an 18-year-old actress to play the 14-year-old character, and now the Canadian Film Board has refused him to do that, so I don't know what will actually happen from there on in. Couple of more pieces of news. According to the Hollywood Reporter, the 1984 sci-fi romantic film Starman is getting the remake treatment.
Now we haven't seen it, but it basically already has.
Sean Levy, the director of Night of the Museum, will direct the remake, with Grace of Monaco's scribe Arash Amel set to pen the script. Exactly.
Yeah, no, but we've basically already seen a remake of it coming out next week in Midnight Special. From everything, looking at the trailer of that, it looks very Starman-ish.
Yeah. Channing Tatum's Gambit movie has been put on hold again after director Doug Liman has delayed work on the project so he can helm sniper thriller The Wall for Amazon.
I told you this would be delayed, not for those reasons, but I did tell you, didn't I? When they said they were having problems and they were moving the release date, I said the release date will get moved back at least, and it's not going to happen.
And final piece of news, yes, we finally got there considering the amount of news that I've had. A Speedy Gonzales animated movie is in the works from Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Arriba, underlay. On to the UK box office top 10.
Yep, starting at number 10 with Deadpool.
Yeah, we've mentioned Deadpool, funnily enough. It's a fun, entertaining film apart from the last cop out 20 minutes.
Yeah, and of that so many million worldwide it's taken, 37.3 of it has been just in the UK, which is a staggering amount for the box office in here.
Yeah.
Number 9 is High Rise,
which I've yet to see and I really do want to see.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think about it, because I liked the first hour of it and I liked the premise and I liked that part, but then I hated the last hour of it, where it kind of just, for me, just went and fell apart into complete chaos, which I get is kind of the point, but the way it's done in the film, I just didn't enjoy watching it. I sat there and I was just like, that last hour, just horrible. I hated that bit. So I'm very... It's a movie that will split you, and it literally has split me, because I like the first half, but I hate the last half.
Yeah.
Number 8 is the Divergent series Allegiant.
Yeah, as are a lot of people actually calling it Allegiant. People can't read then if that's the case. Or Ollie Giant.
All E-Giant.
Yeah, Ollie Giant. You can call it that if you wanted to. It would make the film slightly more interesting. It's just it's a series that should promise with the first movie.
How about Elegant?
Yeah, possibly. But it has gone downhill.
This can go on forever.
It's just ever since when the film actually breaks out from the wall, it just becomes meandering and boring and padding and fest. It's just not very good, unfortunately.
Number 7 is The Boy.
It's a film that's got, I wouldn't even say an interesting idea, because it has been done multiple times before, and when the twist occurs, it's not very much a twist. It's a one going, well, duh. I actually figured that out the first 2 minutes the movie actually started, so it's not that much of a twist, and the director was probably patting himself on the back because he's going, yes, I made a film where people are going to love me for it. Yeah, William Brown Bell, you made Stay Alive, which is based on a video game. You made The Devil Inside, which has a website address at the end of the film. This is your best movie and you're patting yourself on the back for it. I think you need to go back to directing school.
I haven't seen that, but I'm probably guessing it's better than London Has Fallen at number 6.
Absolute, total and utter tosh. To be honest, it is the worst film in this week's top 10. It is absolute dribble.
Okay, wasn't expecting that. 10 Cloverfield Lanes at number 5.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved the weird. It's how dark it is and menacing it is in the first, in more than 2/3 of the movie itself. Because that's down to how brilliant John Goodman is, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She's also fantastic in it. The other guy, I can't remember.
He's the same as me. I can't remember his name either.
It's really unfortunate for him, isn't it?
It is.
When you're going up with a powerhouse that is John Goodman and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and unfortunately you're going to get outplayed by both of them too.
He does at least hold his own equally with them. He's not better than them, and it's difficult with the role he's got to do that. But he does it. There's no point when you think, oh, he's just another guy. That you actually, I have to give him plaudit for actually managing to kind of match them.
Yeah, and so I really, really like the film. A lot of people were annoyed by the last 10-15 minutes of it, but you know what? That didn't even bother me at all, neither. I loved the way the film planned out, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, I was let down by the last sort of 10 minutes or so, but it's okay. It's a good film. Number 4, we haven't seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2.
Which is surprising, it's gone straight in at number 4 from 434 sites. Considering that we didn't even get a chance to see it, so it probably is one of the most highbrow films, like site-wise, that we have not seen in a very long time.
I still haven't seen the first one either, but I hear that I hear that the first one is not especially big, humorous, and that this is kind of more the same. So it's a film that's getting not brilliant reviews from people. Moving on though to Kung Fu Panda 3 at number 3.
Yeah, second best animated film in the top 10. It's really nice to look at. It's just a very simplistic story, slightly mundane story, stuff that we have seen before, even though it's supposed to be taking the Kung Fu Panda series in a different direction. It's not very much of a different direction that it goes in, but the visuals are pretty to look at.
And the jokes are there as well. There are jokes throughout it all the way through. Yeah. So, new entries at numbers 1 and 2. Which one do you think is going to be, out of last week's releases, will be at number 1?
Well, I'm looking at the top 10, so it's obvious.
I know, but I'm saying to anyone listening. Zootropolis is at number 2.
Yeah, or Zootopia as it's known as in America.
Yeah.
This is the best animated film in the top 10. Obviously, there's only 2. But yeah, it definitely is, because it's not afraid to not talk down to children. Like, a lot of kids' films do that. They talk down to children, or they flash up something on the screen to say, yeah, you see that joke that we just done? It's funny, isn't it? But it never does that. It never panders down to its audience. It treats everybody pretty much on even playing grounds. There is stuff in there for adults, not just jokes. There is stuff actual in there for adults. There is stuff in there for kids to like. The only thing I see with Zootropolis and its problem is the fact that will kids remember it? And I think they won't, because there isn't a character in the film. There are individual moments, like if you look at the sloths, it's a funny element of the film and a funny moment of the film, but will kids remember any of the characters like they did with previous Disney films? I don't think they will.
I can see where you're coming from, but I think the thing that works for Zootropolis is the fact that it does get that balance right of being able to be entertaining and fun for kids, but also as equally entertaining and fun for adults. That it's a film that adults, when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray, it doesn't matter that the kids are going to be asking for it or not, because the adults will be getting it, because the adults will go, oh, I remember that, I loved that, I had fun with that, and the kids loved it too, so I'm definitely getting that when it comes out.
Yeah, but the problem is, normally when you buy animated films like this for kids, it's I don't know how Disney are going to promote it when they do release it on Blu-ray and DVD, because if you look at them, if you go around Disney shops when a big release is out, Star Wars, for example, and they plastered the front window with Star Wars garb, and you walked into the shop and there was lots of Star Wars stuff around.
Oh yeah.
Whereas when Zootropolis will come out, I don't see them actually doing that. You're not going to see loads of full-on shelf area dedicated to characters from Zootropolis and kids walking in and going, oh, I want that one, I want this one, I want that one. I don't think you'll see that.
I'm just looking at the numbers as well, the box office takings. I'm surprised it's not done better, because it's only taken just over £5 million, and considering that number one film, which was released at the same time, has taken £14.5 million, which, given obviously what the number one film is, we'll get to in a second, but I'm a little disappointed that Zootopia didn't get a bit more closer to at least half that.
Yeah, well, it didn't beat Big Hero 6 in its opening weekend, because that, if you take out previews and stuff like that, it didn't beat that, and it didn't beat Frozen as well, or Wreck-It Ralph. So, that unfortunately, it's unfortunate. It stands at around about 7.5 million if you add in previews for it.
I think it'll hang around a lot as well. I think it'll get a lot more repeat
because
viewings.
there will be a lack of kids' films over the next few weeks, and so it will be around in the top 10 for a good 5-6 weeks at least.
Yep. So the number one movie is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yeah, it's a movie that's dividing fans from critics, because critics seem to lash the film itself, yet fans were the ones who stuck up for the movie. And the whole point of comic book movies is for them to be created for the fans. But the vitriolic nature that fans are going after critics is not the right way to do it. The whole point of a critic, the whole point of their job, is to give you their opinion of a film. They get to see a movie before the public do, and so they're giving their acclamation, their ideas of what the film is like. They're only sharing what they think of the film. They're not saying that, oh, by the way, the movie is awful, definitely don't go to see it. A critic should be going, if they do saying that the movie is awful, make up your own mind by going to see it. And the whole point of comic book movies is they're created for the fans of the comic book characters. They're created for the people who not only grew up with the characters, who know who the characters are. Now, me personally, I didn't like the film. I didn't like it because I thought it was a muddled mess. I didn't like it because I thought it didn't get the mood right. I didn't like it because I thought some of the acting was really badly implemented in the movie. Yet I did see some of the saving graces of it. Ben Affleck as Batman is fantastic. I think he brings something else to the character of Batman, which is really difficult to do considering how many actors have actually played Batman. So I thought he handled it really well. Take out the first 5 minutes of the movie, which shows off Batman's origin story again, which is not needed in the movie.
I disagree.
No, I completely... we've seen it 8-9 times before, and it's not needed. We don't need to be told about it again and again and again and again. If you're trying to set your movie pretty much straight after or while the ending of Man of Steel is happening, start the movie directly from there, rather than add that first opening 5-10 minutes of it. Because if they did that, I would have thought I would have had a stronger opening, because it is a quite strong opening in it. But from there on in, I think the movie gets bogged down in itself and in its own hubris, and I just feel like it never lives up to expectations at all. But that's only an opinion of somebody, of myself. Yet other fans out there who like the characters of Superman and Batman, etc., are sticking up for the movie, not because they've seen it maybe once or twice or 3 times, because I'm hoping that it's not down to the fact that they want to defend the movie from what other critics have said about it and just sticking up for it just because of that. I hope that's not the case.
It's not the case with me, because I enjoyed it, and I've seen it a few times now. Actually, I saw it again last night, and sorry, not last night, the night before, and I noticed obviously there are lulls in the film, there are moments where it struggles, but it's a film that I think has more depth to it. I've seen people that have said, even we said about with Mark and Following the Nerd, who absolutely hated the film the first time around, has actually come back to defend it a bit now after having seen it a second time, at which point he said he really enjoyed it because of the fact he could get into it more. He didn't have, and I think the problem is that, as I said before, that it's people going into it with expectations of what the characters are to them and how they should be, and when it doesn't meet those expectations, being exactly the same, being the type of characters that they want it to be, then they are being very vitriolic about it. Because I mean, thinking back to things like Iron Man, when Iron Man came out, Iron Man was not a particularly well-known character unless you were a really die-hard comic book fan. So there was a lot of people that went to see that and saw that, went to it without absolutely no expectations of what it was going to be, what the character was like, how it'd be, and they had fun with it. With this, obviously, you've got 4 different actors played Batman before. You've had, well, in films, you've had that many films. You've had Superman in a couple of films and other ones as well before, and different actors and people coming into it. Obviously, there's Man of Steel, which does sort of set up so much, but I think that a lot of people came into it with big expectations, and it was different than what they thought. So they've had that problem initially, and now on the second viewing have come to actually go, you know what, it's not as bad as we thought it was.
To be honest, I think if I saw it for a second time, I don't think I would change my mind on the movie. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think I'm gonna watch it for a second time and think it's worse than what I thought the first time. Yet I don't think when I watch it a second time, I'll think it's better than I thought the first time. It's because when I was watching it in the cinema, I was putting up with the movie. And for me, that should never be what it should be like to go and see a film. You should not be just sitting there and thinking to yourself, you know what, I paid for my ticket and that's the reason why I'm going to be sitting here watching it. And I should never feel like that. It's just not a very good feeling for me when it comes to movies. And when I write down the films that I've seen, I always put a score next to the films just to help me at the end of the year. And the movie itself, it's because I'm sort of like falling somewhere in between the crack of the critics and the fans. I've given it a 5 out of 10, smack bang bullet straight in the middle, because I can see there is elements in the movie that I can see that if it was worked on better and if he went down that kind of route, I would have been much more interested in the movie, when instead he went down multiple different routes and couldn't even decide where to end off. And so it will always steer as a 5, but it'll be completely forgetful for me. I'll not remember the film. Which is, I don't like those kind of movies. They annoy me. On to new movies then.
Yep, Eddie the Eagle, which is the big film released this week, is directed by Dexter Fletcher. It's based on the true story of Eddie Edwards, who was the British ski jumper in the 1988 Winter Olympics, and it's basically following him from early on. You have a very small opening of the film where he's younger, played by a couple of actors, and has this sort of this desire to be an Olympic champion. He's basically shown to not have any real sort of Olympic graces or any sort of particular winning skills that's going to get him to the Olympics. So at which point he then realises what he's going to have to do is go for the Winter Olympics, and starts to sort of plan about doing that. He is a bit sort of awkward in the way he is with people, the way he is with things, and ends up finally getting his way basically to a potential place in the Olympics just in normal skiing, but he's then rejected by them as not being Olympic material. So because of this, he kind of looks into things and finds out that there is no UK ski jumping team. So of course he goes to see about applying for this and going to this, and pursues this on his own. Along the way, sort of running into things and taking up sort of private learning and learning himself at a ski jump site in Germany, where he bumps into a character of Bronson Peary, played by Hugh Jackman. And you have in the movie the main character of Eddie Edwards is played by Taron Egerton, who you're going to have a clip just now of a scene when he actually did go out and speak to the press in the middle of the Olympics.
Thank you all for coming. I know there are plenty of athletes more deserving of publicity than me, and I would like to apologise if my silly antics have cast a shadow over their achievements. I also know that I was messing around a little bit after the 70-metre jump the other day. I was very excited. But I take jumping very seriously. In fact, I love it. Which is why I've decided to compete in the 90 metres.
What?
But as people much wiser than me say, competing in the Olympics doesn't mean anything if you sell yourself short. I didn't come here as a novelty act, and I will not be going home as one.
Now, the thing with Eddie the Eagle is it is something that I actually do remember happening at the time when I was younger and seeing it. I don't remember it in detail, but I do remember the elements of this. Apparently there are things in this that have been sort of taken and Hollywoodized a bit. I mean, the thing is, you got the character of Bronson Peary, who is a trainer, basically trains him in the film, is an amalgamation of a couple of people and things that are put together as you do in some of these things happening. But the whole thing of when it comes to the Olympics sequences and that's done, that all is kind of faithful from the looks of things to how it's done and stuff. And the thing that's interesting about this, it's a film that has got heart, and I don't mean it's got heart. I mean it's got heart. It's got heart. It's got heart. It's got heart. It has got a lot to it. I think that the key here and the important thing is that they made the character of Eddie Edwards as awkward as he is, and Taron Egerton has done a brilliant performance of getting down his awkward movements. He has this thing of his jaw being out, and the way that he is there with that, the way he talks to people, the way he's always sort of smiling and stiff upper lip, kind of chipper and that. And it's the scenes of like when he's talking to his mum, and he's very much kind of like he's growing up and everything, but he's still obviously a bit kind of, you know, that he's kind of under his parents' wing a lot, sort of thing of that. And that's not just, I don't think that's just of that character. I think that's of the period when it was in the 80s. There was that sort of thing about the UK and British families and such. And when he gets out there and he's doing all this and learning all this and figuring out what he's doing and all that, and then he meets Hugh Jackman's character, who Hugh Jackman is playing essentially kind of Hugh Jackman, but it works in the film, and the relationship between the two of them is one of the points that actually creates a lot of the connection with the character, because of the fact that you see him with Bronson Peary. You see him that he's, you know, he ends up winning him over to help train him, even though he has no interest in training him, and he thinks he's an idiot who's just going to go out there and get himself killed. You have the humour, which is pretty much a laugh, not always laugh out loud, but a laugh all the way through it. And then as you build into it, you get into it, you're really endeared to the character. You feel all the struggles that he has to go through with the Olympic squad, and the how they treated him as an outsider and such, and all that sort of thing. But it's a kind of film that it could have very easily steeped into patheticness, and it doesn't. It steeps into sympathy, and into it strikes a chord with the audience very well. And I have to say, and we were talking about this as well, and I'm going to say in a minute, by the end of it I actually did come to tears. I was sitting there at one point towards the end, and I genuinely was fighting back, just bursting into blubbing mess, because it just tugged at the heartstrings, and it wasn't like, oh, here's a moment, just tug. It was like all the way through. It built up until finally the well was full, you know, that kind of a thing. And that's what's really impressive about this film, is that it does make that connection with the audience, and it doesn't feel like a fake one where you go, oh, come on, really? You get there and you're just like, you know what, well done.
Yeah, it's a film that's never apathetic. It's just the way the movie's played out. Eddie the Eagle is the underdog in pretty much everybody. He is the kind of character that all these people who believe that they've got no talent whatsoever in them, that they quit at every single put down that they're given. If you were in school and when you tried to do any kind of physical education, any kind of PE, in life in general, when you strive to do something important and you get pulled back constantly. Eddie the Eagle, the way Taron Egerton actually plays him, he plays him like he goes, you know what, just say no, just keep on at it. If you're interested in something, if you want to succeed at something, there is no harm in trying it, because you never know if you are going to be good or bad at it. And he never let anybody get him down. His father, for example, is constantly and throughout the film wanting him to become a plasterer, wanting him to give up his dream. Yet Eddie is constantly saying, you know what, no. His mother's always on his side, giving him his lunchbox to say, yeah, take it with you, because you never know if you win a medal, this is what you're going to put it in. And always supportive. That's what he should be like. His character is very much like through the film, and you latch onto him instantly, and it's the way Taron Egerton actually embodies Eddie the Eagle, because it was sort of like that, and they have done a few tweaks, and they have changed a few things about his mannerisms, etc. But it's just the way he plays it throughout. You need that humour also sparked in there, and Hugh Jackman is fantastic. The Bo Derek sequence is just I couldn't not stop laughing.
And I'm surprised they actually that joke, they got away with that in a PG film as well.
Exactly, and it's just everybody in the screen, and even including children who were taken in there by adults. Because when I was seeing kids getting brought in, I was thinking, do the parents know they're actually bringing them to see a sort of like a comedy drama called Eddie the Eagle and not an animated movie? Yet the little kids were actually giggling at that because they probably didn't get the joke, but it's just the way he was actually doing
the
things.
Ridiculousness of it, yeah.
Yeah, I loved the film. I thought everybody was on their ear game throughout the movie itself. You felt anger when he was getting pushed back every single time when he was told, you know what, you don't have the birthright to be a jumper. You shouldn't be joining these upper class people who have got all the training because you're no good for it. Yet the perfect example is when he has managed to do the jump off the 70 meter jump. He does the eagle flapping around, and he's getting the crowd all riled up. Yet everybody else who was involved, the crowd are only applauding them for going, yeah, well done. They were always on Eddie's side. He instantly got them on his side.
He won them over instantly, yeah.
Yeah, he just won them over, and that's what the film does. It wins you over. You walk out of that the cinema with a big, huge, massive beam and smile after wiping away a tear when you're trying to force it back in at the end, like 5-10 minutes of it, because the way the music actually just ramps up and ramps up, you're just feeling, come on, you've got to make that jump. Yet if you were born in the 80s, you know the outcome of it. You're still going, you've got to make that jump, because it's just how everything just seems to ramp up. Dexter Fletcher also, directing wise, brilliantly directed by him. So 3 out of 3 for him.
It's got a great soundtrack on it as well, which is a weird sort of 80s style, so it even helps with the feel of it as well.
Yeah, but after Wild Bill, Sunshine on Leith, and this is his third film that he's directed, and
I still haven't seen Sunshine on Leith yet, but I've seen Wild Bill, and it's definitely he's definitely improving on that. He was good in Wild Bill, and I haven't seen, as I say, Sunshine on Leith, but I can imagine that you can see the sort of the advancement of him.
But yeah, I highly recommend it. I love the film. It's going to be one of those ones that might sneak into my top 10 of the year. It'll hold a nice little place in my top 10 of the year. I think I might find a little snug little corner of its own to say well done to it, because it definitely deserves it.
It does, definitely.
Different turn of foot now with the final film in the cinema section, a movie called Victoria. Now, critics have been patting this film on the back for the way it's actually done. The film is one continuous shot. Now, you've heard that before in films where the director has said that it is one continuous shot, yet you can see where it's been edited together. Whereas this movie is actually one continuous shot. It was shot 3 different times. The first time the director was happy with how the outcome happened, but he thought it's best to actually do it a second time just in case, and he came up with an idea of trying to create it like a normal film. So shoot it like it would seem that it was one continuous shot, but have some edits in there, so it was able for a camera to actually go into a different viewpoint, so it would be much more easier. And so that was the second time the director attempted it. And then, unfortunately, the way the director looked at it and thought, you know what, it destroys the flow of it. So they went back a third time to shoot the film, and they stuck with the third time they shot it. Now, each time it took them about 3.5 hours, and they actually shot it from the time when the movie is set at 4 a.m. up to 7:30 a.m. So that's exactly each time the way they did it. It centers around, it's a very basic story, but it's one of those stories where the little you know about it, the better. So the basic simple premise of it follows the character of Victoria, the title of the film, played by Laia Costa. She's at a nightclub. it's turning 4 o'clock. She's about to go off to work because she works in a cafe at 7 o'clock, and so she thought she'll have a good night out. She'll go off to work. She meets up with these guys who sort of like, she starts to befriend them, and then all of a sudden bad things happen. It escalates completely from there, and that's all I'm going to see. Even if when you watch the trailer, I think the trailer gives away too much of the film itself. As a matter of fact, the ending is in the trailer, which is annoying. But the little you know about the film, the better. And first off, it's a feat of brilliance from whoever the cinematographer is on the film. I haven't got the cinematographer's name down, but I need to actually find out who it is, because the fact that he does deserve the plaudits for the film, because it's just the way it's actually shot. To shoot a movie continuously, one continuous shot, is an absolute, it's just probably a nightmare to do. Yet the way the cinematographer's actually done it, it's just brilliant. And I'm trying to find out
I'm just looking as well.
Sturla Brandt Grovlin, who's the cinematographer, and now he's actually got a credit above the director in the film, because it just very simple scenes, like there's a scene in a car, and the way the camera actually moves around in the car is reminiscent of the fight scene in the Raid 2 on the motorway. In that, there's also, it might sound like a simple shot where the characters are climbing up a ladder, but when you're shooting a movie in one continuous shot, you can just imagine how hard that shot is going to be to get it right first time. It's that difficult. Also, the actors need a big massive pat on the back, because the script itself originally was only a 12-page script. Now, if you're shooting a movie that is a running time of 2.5 hours nearly, you're looking at around about a 120-page script there. You've only got a 12-page script, so for most of the film, the actors are actually improvising, especially Lila Costa, who plays Victoria. And it's just, when you see the film, you can't even believe that they improvised the movie, because it has a brilliant flow to it. There are some really good tense scenes in it. The actors are allowed to breathe and actually act, and it's just the way the film is. It is one of those movies that needs to be seen. If you're a fan of like things like, if you spot cinematography in movies, if you appreciate the way a film is shot, if you appreciate the idea of a film going on one continuous shot, even though it's not looked like it's done like that. For example, there's a horror film called Silent House, the original version, not the remake with Elizabeth Olsen in it. That one is supposedly shot on one continuous shot, yet it actually wasn't. It was shot in 3 chunks, and you can see where the break is. But if you're appreciative of that, you need to see the film for that. If you want a really good, interesting thriller that has a fantastic flow to it, but doesn't feel like it's going to break anytime soon, and it never feels like it's fully filling its running time. It only feels like an hour and a half movie. You need to see this movie. So just seek it out for just any kind of film fan who's interested in the minutiae of film and the acting wise when it comes to film, directing, etc. It's a very good, very interesting movie, and it's out on Blu-ray and DVD in about 3 weeks' time.
I'll need to try and see it then, to then maybe review it for the DVD and Blu-ray release then.
So if there isn't a cinema that's shown it, because it is shown in independent cinemas, and I think Curzon On Demand might be showing it, I'm not 100% certain about that, but it is out on Blu-ray and DVD in a couple of weeks' time, so seek out it then. And that's it for the cinema section of the show. We'll be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD section.
There was a real sense of you were doing something wrong, but that did give it that feeling of excitement.
When the reveal of the film happens, that's when it just becomes absurd.
And the atmosphere and just the sense you get whenever you go into it is undeniable.
It did absolutely zero for me, which could be for the hype.
What we've just discussed there is just scratching the surface on it.
Hi, I'm Eric England, the director of Contracted, and you're listening to From Page to Screen, the horror show.
And we're back with this week's DVD and Blu-ray releases. Coming up, we'll have a look at the UK DVD and Blu-ray chart, and then these new releases.
Drama that one critic has said you cannot understand a single word they say because it is in Scottish. Sunset Song, he's an idiot. And then you've got drama with hint of dark comedy with Grandma, a remake of one of the most notorious French nasty films of the last 15 years with Martyrs. Then we're reviewing Kill Your Friends for the 3rd time. We reviewed in the cinema section. This is the 2nd time we're reviewing on Blu-ray.
It'll be quick. It'll be quick.
we got a tiny bit of ahead of ourselves about a month ago because the site that we use to find out the schedule of movies got it wrong. And then we'll look at a double bill of horror movies with The Veil starring Jessica Alba and Jerusalem with a Z and not an S.
Before that, as I said though, it's the DVD and Blu-ray top 10.
So at number 10 is The Martian.
Yeah, which we said a lot of things. I mean, we loved it. It was a great film from Ridley Scott. Nice to see him back on top form even. Drew Goddard's script is the big thing that makes it happen, but everything else has come together around it, and Matt Damon is brilliant in it.
At number 9 is the new entry for Fall of the Creers.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to see this for reviewing it last week because it was a British release, which is a bit harder for us to see sometimes. But I've not seen this. Have you seen this?
No, I could have gotten a screener of it, and I should have. I should have asked Stuart from Page to Screen to come on because he's seen all of these movies.
Yeah, this is a lot more his sort of fare. I'm curious to see how it sort of it stands up. Obviously, given the number of craze-related things there have been recently. But
the only problem, though, if we got Stuart to review it, he might be slightly biased because he does all of these kind of movies, and pretty much I've seen about 4 of them, and all of them feel exactly the same movie.
Okay.
And number 8 is the Hunger Games Complete Collection, which will fast forward through to number 7 as a new entry for the Night Manager, which I haven't a clue what the Night Manager is.
It's a TV series that's based on a John le Carré novel, and I haven't seen it, although I do want to see it because it was.
Is that the one with Tom Hiddleston?
It is Tom Hiddleston in it, and several other big names as well, but I can't remember which ones.
Hugh Laurie, isn't he?
Yeah. It does look very good, and I do want to see it. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet.
For some. I've not seen it, so where the hell did those names come from? I pass. Number 6 is Game of Thrones Series 5.
Yeah, I mean, I like Game of Thrones. I do, yeah. And the 5th series was a very good series, very good season. So we're looking forward to the 6th season because it's not that far off, actually, is it?
There's a ton of TV stuff that you actually do watch.
Yeah.
It's miraculous when I see all these posts on Facebook and stuff like that with the amount of. You even attempt to watch pretty much all of the new TV programs that gets announced as well.
I tend to give the
patience.
Oh well, sometimes I'll try and watch like the first thing, especially because sometimes you get the screeners of pilots released a long time ahead, and things like Amazon and stuff doing them. So they release the pilots a long time before, and you can see it and then go, yeah, okay, it's good or not, and yeah.
Is there any new ones coming up that I should be looking out for? I know we don't talk about television stuff.
There's a Rush Hour one.
No, I saw the trailer for that release one. It looked horrible. But,
Word on it is actually not bad, believe it or not.
But we don't talk about TV stuff because we obviously don't review TV stuff. But it's nice to actually find out if there is something I should maybe probably dip my toe back into the TV market if there's anything coming out in the next few months.
TV does seem to be sort of increasing its game recently. So
is there anything new coming out in the next few months that I should be having a look at?
Not that I can think of. I'll have to have a look.
So I'm putting you on the spot there.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Okay, then number 5 is Spectre.
Yeah, which is not the best of the Bond films. You hated it. I didn't hate it, but I did find it very weak and not great because of it just felt very stretched out and unnecessarily long, and it has a terrible, terrible theme song.
Awful theme song. And Adele has turned around and says, you know what, she's never going to do another Bond theme ever again.
Good.
But Adele's actually turned around about a month ago and said that she's going to take a break for 5 years after this album, after this tour that she's doing.
My other half will be happy to hear that.
Yeah, so will I, because she's a whining person. At number 4 is the Lady in the Van.
Lovely if you'd call my wife a whiny person.
No, Adele. Adele is a whining person. She's not as bad as Sam Smith, but come on.
Oh yeah, Lady in the Van. I liked it. You loved it, I think, more than you definitely liked it more than I did. I have issues with the narrative, the way it's told, of the whole thing of the main character basically being a sort of a split personality of a writer who his writing self is always the view of him inside, sitting at the typewriter, whereas the other version of him is out and about and walking around and things, and the two interact and talk to each other in a very odd way. I found that very hard to get past, but the film is definitely worth seeing, if anything, for just Maggie Smith's performance.
Yeah, back onto TV quickly. There is 2 series that I'm actually looking forward to. The second series of Attack on Titan, which it's my kind of stuff. I love the first series of that, and the 3rd season, and I cannot wait for this, of Rick and Morty. I'm an absolute nut when it comes to Rick and Morty, and I love that program.
Anyway, back to films.
Number 3 is The Good Dinosaur, so those were animated related.
Yeah. I like The Good Dinosaur. It did make me laugh. It did make me go, "Ooh, wow, pretty," and have moments like that. But
that's the kind of reaction you want to see, isn't it?
It is.
Wow, pretty.
It is. But it's the problem of that. Then it doesn't really have much of a story to it. It has this whole thing of the animation in particular of me that really bothered me was the animation of and designs of the dinosaurs that were just too. It felt like they were trying to scream, "Oh, Disney's dinosaurs are cute. We can do dinosaurs that look, don't look scary and everything, and don't look realistic, but they look, big eyes and they're big mouths, and oh, look at that, and they're all like jelly." And just, really, please. I hated the dinosaur design. I loved the world design. I love the animation of that. I love some of the sequences of it, things like the gopher sequence where they're blowing the gophers out of the gopher holes in the ground. That cracked me up and has done ever since I've seen it again and again, that bit. But the rest of the film, it's just very, very shallow.
Can I just another sort of like tangent? I'm just having a quick look there at the 4K Ultra HD releases of the Ghostbusters films. Yeah, and the cover for the Ghostbusters, the first one is all over the place, and they've left off Winston Zedmore. They literally have. They've got the Ghostbusters symbol in the middle of the packaging, and on one corner they've got the three Ghostbusters. The Marshmallow Man's on the opposite corner, and then you've got Slimer. Then you've got other characters on it, and then you've got the Ecto 1 with Winston Zedmore's head covered by the Ghostbusters symbol.
Okay, we'll take it up with Mark and Following the Nerd, because everyone there loves that film. I don't really care about Ghostbusters, to be honest. I don't really like the old ones especially, and I definitely don't like the look of the new one.
They don't even have his name on the strap along the top. They've got Rick Moranis' name on there, but not even his. That's really bad. And number 2 is Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2,
which I didn't mind. I didn't love it as much as the other films. I do think it's the weakest part of them on its own. I think it's definitely one that gets better from watching it with Part 1 back to back. But on its own, Part 2 is a mess. It has too much stuff in there trying to make it longer, but then at the end has too many endings. It needs to strip those away a bit, and it has a sequence in the middle which is quite nice, of kind of like the Hunger Games in a city, which is kind of okay, but it definitely feels as if they're running out of steam during this film.
And at number 1 is A New Entry for Bridge of Spies,
which is worth seeing alone for Mark. I forgot his name now. The best supporting actor's performance, Mark Rylance, that's it, thank you, who definitely did deserve to win best supporting actor. Tom Hanks is very good in it, but he's not his best. Steven Spielberg is very good in this directing, and it has that view of sort of wartime, with the whole thing of the Cold War sort of thing, and the Berlin Wall being put up, and sequences of that, as well as you have sequences where they're sort of trying to do these negotiations and things going on, and it's a really good drama that is witty at times. It does make you laugh, and it does have serious moments in it, and you come out at the end and it's actually a really good sort of dramedy thriller.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the price of these 4K Blu-ray players, and God, I need a new bank balance. I'm slightly distracted, but I've got a 4K TV, and I've seen one of the cheapest ones at the moment is a John Lewis, and it's £400.
Okay, while you look and drool over those, just make sure you can still use your keyboard afterwards. I'm going to go on to review the first film then.
No, I am actually.
Are you? Okay.
Yeah. So well done for that. So I'll be distracted looking at Panasonic's Blu-ray player. There are other companies available while reviewing Sunset Song, which is an interesting amalgamation, considering that Sunset Song is set in the early 20th century, in the 1900s. I don't think they had Blu-ray players back then.
I think we need to ban you from looking at shopping sites while we're doing the show.
Sorry, I'll close the window down now and get on to Sunset Song. It's directed by Terence Davis, and like I said, it's set in the early 1900s, and it centres around the Guthrie family, headed by Peter Mullins-Kyle, who plays the father of John Guthrie. Then you've got the mother and daughter, who's played by Agnes Dean, who plays Chris. Yes, I know it sounds like a boy's name, but her proper name is Christine, but she does get called Chris through the film. And for the first 35 minutes of the film, it's about how bad the father treats the family, how much the fact that all he's interested in is procreation, how much he beats on the son when the son says anything blasphemy when it comes to Jesus or anything like that at all. how much he's just bad-mouthing his family all the time, how much he drinks, and it's just about how bad their life is. Then when Chris's mother passes away, she's obviously left with her father and siblings, but the younger children, they're taken away. Her brother decides to get out of there, so she's left there alone, and her life is starting to get down in the doldrums until her father passes away, and then she's pretty much left on her own until out of nowhere, knight in shining armor, played by Kevin Guthrie, who plays Ewan, decides to take it up on himself to pretty much marry her, and then supposedly live happily ever after. You know that's not how it's going to go. Now we don't have a clip for Sunset Song because it's a small British film, well, small Scottish film, and the clips out there is just like trailers, so it's obviously not a good idea to play a trailer for a film. The thing with the film is it's heavy on its Scottishness. Now that's no offence to it, it's just the way it looks at the Highlands. Their aspirations is to get to Aberdeen. That's saying something about their aspirations if it is they're looking at the sunny climates of Aberdeen. But back in the 1900s, that's probably like major holiday kind of destination. It's our idea of going over to Spain or whatever for them. So yeah, it's very bleak, it's very muddy, it's very like dirt all over the place, and the house looks like it could be blown down if there was a big huge massive storm there, and very bleak. Now the movie itself turns on its head completely in the last hour, and it flips itself around, and it gets rid of its bleakness, and it starts to shine a light on it, and it becomes all happy joy for a little while, until the director tries to interleave the bleakness back into the movie. And for me, it felt like a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde in a way. It's a very good film, acting wise, very well done, especially from Agnes Dean, who plays Chris. This is her first film, supposedly, and she plays it brilliantly well, her character. And Peter Mullen, when he plays nasty, he really does go to town on it, and so he is really horrible. But I found the first part of the movie, the bleakness of the film, much more interesting than when it was getting bogged down with Chris's love life and her marriage to Ewan and the dichotomy decision that he's got to make. And I just found like it dragged the movie down a little bit, and it felt like the movie just didn't know where it wanted to go from there. It just became a very standard love story, when in fact it was building up something else. So it's a movie of two halves, but it's a movie that still should be watched, especially for the performances.
Okay, I was wanting to see this because it was actually showing at my local, because I'm living near Glasgow, so it was showing it, but I didn't have a chance when it came out, and I wish I had seen it, because it seems to have been a film that had interested people. But it's this whole thing of Scottish films being struggled to be understood in other countries.
Yeah.
That just really it's not.
I still find that I know I live in the northeast, and so I'm not too far away from Scotland myself. But that doesn't mean that I'm embroiled in the mannerisms of people who live in Scotland. I don't understand Gaelic at all.
I don't
understand that dialect, and there is a little bit of Gaelic in this. But if you listen, I would guess if a Scottish person hears the way a proper Geordie actually speaks, they would listen and think, but you would still understand it. You'd still be able to pick up on it. And I can't get why people struggle with it. It's not like the Scottish accents are stupidly thick. They're not that thick. You can understand them. So it makes me scratch my head. It's down to ignorance rather than down to the fact that it is the way they're actually speaking. It's just my guess is the people who review it, who keep saying that they can't understand the actors, is just does not get the film, or is not a very good reviewer in that case. They're just not doing their job properly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's I think it's a bit silly to say that because the fact that you live in Scotland, you should see the film. But you should. You should see the film. It gives you an idea of what it was like back in the 1900s. If you grew up in Scotland anyway, that's probably been force-fed down your throat. But it's still interesting to actually see and watch, and I should send you the screener.
Okay.
I was kindly sent a screener from Metrodome, so I just thought I would give them a mention, but thanks again to Metrodome for sending me out the screener. Appreciate that.
Okay, I'll go on to Grandma, which is written and directed by Paul Weitz. It is a film centering around the character of Elle, or Ellie, played by Lily Tomlin, who is she's a very kind of grumpy grandma who has she is a lesbian basically, who is still sort of dealing with the loss of her partner a little while back, but has kind of started to move on and is actually in a new relationship with someone who's a lot younger. That all sort of blows up at the start of the film. Things have not worked out well because of the fact she still has this issues with her past, and then along comes her granddaughter Sage, played by Julia Garner, who it turns out is pregnant with an unplanned pregnancy, is sort of looking at going to actually get an abortion done, which she's booked for that very day, later on that day, which is early in the morning, and she needs help from her grandmother because of the fact she needs about $600 to pay for the procedure. Her grandmother has about $50 to her credit at the moment, so of course she starts looking at things, what she's going to do, how to try and help her out. She doesn't have the best of relationships with her own daughter, Sage's mother, and they go around different places, ultimately including going to see Sage's mother to see her about the fact, because they obviously need this money so that she can do this procedure. Here's a clip.
Who is it? The little creep?
Yes.
Really, Sage?
You know what? But we're not a couple anymore. If we ever really were one.
I told you. He was a loser. Did I not tell you he was a flat-out loser?
Yes, you told me, okay? And you were right.
I was right.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't have any money because you spent all your money on shoes and other garbage.
Okay, you know what? But you confiscated my credit card, which is like totally unfair.
Okay, wait, it cost me $2,000 to have the garage door fixed. Break gas. So I'm assuming that you then went to her for money, but she doesn't have any money either. So, of course, you came to me. Am I right?
Well, you missed a few steps in between, but you're right.
Mm-hmm. And what about all those condoms I got you?
We used them.
Oh, you and the rodent?
Yes.
Well, you know what? You can get more. I didn't hand make them. I didn't knit them.
Okay, I know. You don't have to yell at me.
So you have this weird relationship between them, that they're all sort of estranged from each other, but all sort of coming together in this time of need sort of situation. And it's all about sort of their weird kind of very dysfunctional family and relationships, while in particular focusing on Ellie, who's dealing with her own problems, her own past, and also other past sort of events that pop up as she's travelling through to sort of look up people who either owe her money or owe her favours, sort of thing. And it's a perfectly good performance from Lily Tomlin, who's really good in it. The rest of the film I didn't much care for. I didn't think it was especially funny. It had some moments that are quite funny, like for example when they're having an argument in a little cafe, and the guy running the cafe, played by John Cho, comes over to him and says, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." And she's like, "Oh, okay, when are you going to have to ask us to leave?" And he's like, now. And she's like, "Oh, you're asking us to leave, okay, and who, we upsetting the people? Who are upsetting? You?" And there's like no one else in the shop apart from this couple that are sitting there that look just completely sort of the whitest white couple you could have in America. It's a weird drama more than it is a comedy. It has a couple of moments laugh, but I just found it a little bit bewildering. The fact is, it's only an hour and something like 12 minutes long. It's not a very long film. It doesn't even really feel much like a film. It feels like there should be more to it. I honestly got to the end of it and I thought, well, I love the performance in it. I love Lily Tomlin in it. I don't think a massive amount of Julia Garner in it. I think she's okay, but I don't think she's particularly great cast in this against Lily Tomlin. I think Lily Tomlin does overpower her in a lot of the scene. But it's okay, but just very, very underwhelming. I'm surprised because I actually expected a lot more from it, because it has received a lot of really good positive sort of views from people, and I don't have anything against it. I just didn't think it was all that. It's exactly that kind of thing, and because I do love Lily Tomlin's performance in it. Don't get me wrong on that, but it's by the end of it, I was just kind of like, well, Lily Tomlin was great.
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it, when you feel that?
I mean, it even has a great moment in it as well, where Sam Elliott turns up, and Sam Elliott is always great in film, even in things like Ghost Rider. Sam Elliott is always brilliant, and there's a scene in this which is actually brilliant, and he's really good, and he actually has like a moment where he's genuinely like giving a really good performance in it, but he's only in the film for about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and they could have done more with him, and it would have actually added up the running time. It just feels very much like it's an incomplete rush to get done just to make it, rather than having something that kind of you want to really see what happens, sort of thing.
Yeah, which is really annoying. Okay, then on to the first horror film that I'm reviewing, because I'm going into horror territory from now on. Martyrs. It's a movie that, to be honest, should never have been remade. The original came out in like 2005, 2006. It was part of the French wave of extreme horror movies. You look at Gaspar Noé's Irreversible. I think that was sort of like the one that was shown head and shoulders above the rest, because that movie is told backwards and with a really nasty, gruesome rape scene in it. And then you look at Alexandre Aja, which was brought to the forefront with Switchblade Romance, and it's a very good film. And then you had the Alexandre Bastillo, Julien Moreau movie, Inside, and
well done.
Then you had Xavier Gans Frontier, and then jumping onto the bandwagon, you had the original Martyrs, and Martyrs was a difficult movie to watch. It's not a very easy stomach movie to watch, because it's a film that messes around with two different ideas. It's a movie that messes around with horror, and it's a movie that messes around with religion. And what Pascal Laugier did was he melded them both brilliantly together, and especially with an ending that's so shocking to see that it still hasn't been topped. And so what Hollywood decided to do is, and they did the brilliant thing of remaking it. So they got the brothers Kevin and Michael Goetz to sort of like helm the reboot of the series. Now they did a movie called Extraterrestrial, which, if I remember correctly, had the most preposterous ending possible to a movie that I've seen in a very long time, which involved the camera falling from space and still surviving. And just where do they go from there? They take the story from suburban France to America, and they pretty much play it like for like. It centers around two girls. One, she's trying to help a friend. She's in trouble. Bad things start to happen, and she discovers that a secret organization is involved. Here's a clip.
What's your name?
Anna.
What are you doing here, Anna? Where's Dr. Patterson?
He's dead.
His family? Did you kill them? You're in a lot of trouble, Anna. Did you kill them?
No.
Your friend?
Who are you?
What's her name?
I called the police and they're on their way.
Now the thing is, though, they've got Pascal Laugier down as one of the writers, but he's down as characters because he created the characters, and they've got Mark L. Smith to do the screenplay, to do a remake of what Laugier did with the original, and they have absolutely destroyed the heart of what the original is about. They've just Americanized this so much so, it might as well have been directed by Eli Roth and been called Hostel 4. It's really that bad. It's devoid of anything that makes the original brilliant. In that clip there, you heard a woman asking who she was, what she's doing there, and she's head of this organization. Now, if you've watched the original one, there's no scenes like that in the original. There is just nothing but tension building up to still one of the most graphic and shocking scenes I've seen in a horror film for a very long time. Whereas in this one, instead of doing that kind of scene, they just cop out with it and go down the very typical boring route. Now, if you know what a martyr is a religious group believes that if you inflict so much torture onto somebody just before they've had enough pain and before they die, they see the face of God, and that it gets implanted onto their eyes, and that's the last thing they see. And now this organization believes that if they can do that, they can experience God. And the original film examines that brilliantly, all the way throughout the film, but not so much so when it's trying to force down religion down your throat. This one takes that idea and completely forgets about it into the last 10 minutes that is actually doing that. It's awful. It was released in selected cinemas on Friday, just gone. It's out on Blu-ray and DVD now. Just majorly avoid it, and please watch the original French version. It's miles better.
Okay, on to then Kill Your Friends, which we did do a full review of a little while ago. I'm just going to go quickly over that because it was done when we were misled it was coming out. It was pushed back to this week. Basically, it's a kind of a weird sort of drama thriller centering around the character of Stephen Stelfox, played by Nicholas Hoult, who is a record executive in the 90s in London. Who is basically a guy who he basically has no clue about what he's doing. He does everything sort of out of his mind on cocaine and other kind of drugs. He's at loads of parties and does all the kind of stuff that executives did in the 90s. And all this while trying to pick out the next big hit and figure out who they're going to be and produce them, so that obviously in the way that things are said and done in the music industry to make money. Here's a clip.
So I suppose you're wondering, what is that taste? What kind of music do I like? Asking a major label A&R man this is like asking a stockbroker what his favourite commodity is, or saying to an FX trader, hey, what's your favourite currency? The answer is, whatever's profitable. Hip-hop, trance, Bulgarian heavy metal played on sheep's bladders. If it's a hit, who cares? As long as it's profitable.
Now, it has been said that this movie is kind of the whole thing of American Psycho, but just in London and around music executives. And there is something to that, but it's more than that. The thing is, though, it doesn't have the wit or the style of American Psycho. And American Psycho is a film that the first time I saw it, I really disliked it. I really took a disliking to it. I have since come around and really find it's a really good film. I don't hate this, but at the same time, it doesn't have that. It doesn't hold sort of true to that style, that feel. And Nicholas Hoult is not sort of channeling Jason Bateman. I think was the name of the character in that. Patrick Bateman, thank you. Yeah.
Jason Bateman's the actor.
Yes. Oh, maybe he is channeling Jason Bateman then.
I really hope he's not. Well, apart from in The Gift, maybe.
Yeah. No, it's a film that it is a bare minimum doing what it needs, but it just doesn't feel like it's really given its all. You get to the end of it and it's kind of like it's been a bit lackluster. There is moments where it does actually have a couple of shocking moments that I didn't see coming, but it's not kind of like, you know, Patrick Bateman taking an axe to a guy's head in the office, you know, not in the office, in the living room, and it doesn't have that kind of the oh my god moments, you know, that make you just sit there and actually jump into the fact of wow. It just doesn't have a wow to it. It's a kind of a okay, and it's not bad. It's very, very like a damp squid. It just never really reached its potential.
Damp squid, not a squid.
Damp squid. Well,
Yeah,
damp squid's good because I mean it's still alive.
Why would it be like a damp squid? A squid's always damp. It's more than damp. It's a damp whatever a squib is. What is a squib? People,
squib.
Send us comments.
A squib is the explosive device that's used to create the effect of a bullet hitting something in a film.
Well done for looking that on Wikipedia.
No, I know it. It's what it is from, you know, filmmaking.
Oh, this down here, a squib, also known as a wizard born, is a non-magical person. What? That's from Harry Potter. Well,
No, that's Muggles.
no, it's got down here as Squib. But yeah, Harry Potter's got nothing to do with Kill Your Friends. When I went to see it at the cinema, a couple walked out about 40 minutes into the film, and they were the only other people in the screening with me. So I ended up being in the screening of my own, and I was tempted to walk out myself. But I've never walked out of a film, and I never will walk out of a film, no matter how bad it is. If I've sat through things like Entourage, the movie, and other films like that, then yeah, The Hangover Part 3, I would definitely not walk out of it. I even watched a Danny Dyer movie, which Run for Your Wife. I actually went to see that, and I still didn't walk out of that. So I didn't walk out of this, but I was tempted to. I thought the film was obnoxious. It was obnoxious from the moment that it starts to all the way to the end, and the only saving grace is, you heard it in that clip there, was there's a band that's involved in the film itself, and they have a couple of good music numbers, but that's pretty much the only saving grace of the entire film. I just didn't like the movie at all, because the characters are just repulsive, and you want one character to quite like in the film. There is not one single person I would want to spend 1 minute locked in an elevator with these, never mind having to sit through this film again for another 90 minutes. I thought the film was annoying. Onto a double bill of horror then. Starting off with The Veil, directed by Phil Journoux. It stars Jessica Alba, and she plays a journalist in a way. She's investigating this community, which is helmed by Thomas Jane, who 10 years prior to her investigating it, they committed mass suicide. It's supposedly the biggest mass suicide that these kind of cults actually did. One person survived, played by Lily Rabe, adult version now, played by Lily Rabe, and she, Jessica Alba, decides to take her back to investigate what went on. And then through the film, it fleets and flirts back to from present day, where they're investigated, to when Thomas Jane was this almighty person who believes that the people at this community, when they do die and they get resurrected by his hand, they would then walk the earth to cleanse everybody's soul to make them like them. And so it flits and flirts between a supernatural movie, between a religious film, cults, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I find cult movies very fascinating. There are movies that just embody tension. They build up tension. Martha Marcy May Marlene, for example, is definitely a plus in the genre, because it's a movie where you feel really uneasy and on edge. You're wondering what the lead of the cult is actually going to do. And Thomas Jane is playing this with so much cheese, he might as well just be the cheese string guy, because he's got this like really weird 1970s wig on it. He's wearing these white robes all the time, and he's just shouting all of his dialogue. He's just hands flying all over the place. It's like he's swatting flies and bees away from him. Then when you get the present day, it throws in a supernatural thing, so it's got stuff to do with ghosts and possession, and it's a messy movie. It doesn't understand what it was trying to be, where to actually land on, whether it wants to be a cult movie with this insanity from Thomas Jane, or whether it wants to be a possession movie with Jessica Alba. It's just, I think the director thought, you know what, I've got both of them, let's try both and let's see if it melds together. It doesn't. It just makes a bit of a messy film. On the opposite hand, you've got Jerusalem, spelt with a Z. It's directed by Doran and Giovaz Paz, or the Paz brothers. I've never heard of them. This is, my guess, their first film.
It rings a bell with me for some reason.
I've never heard of the Paz brothers, but yeah. And stop if you've heard this before. Two friends, they decide to, on a gap year, decide to go over to Jerusalem, to just have a bit of just to investigate the place, just to see what it's actually like. And one night they're accosted by a person there saying, you know what, why don't you just come around the city with me, I'll show you the town, the place. They're shooting it all. It's actually shaky cam found footage kind of movie, so they're shooting it all on now Google released this visor that you clip onto your glasses or something like that, and you supposedly be able to surf the internet that way and all that kind of stuff. That's the way it's shot. It's shot using one of them. And when in Jerusalem, a bad thing happens, the town gets coordinated off, and you discover gribbly monsters are involved. And that's pretty much the premise of the film itself. It's not bad, because at least instead of the Paz brothers falling down the kind of tropes that we've seen before, where it's something to do with zombies or vampires, werewolves, something like that. It actually is not that. It's sort of like these demonic winged creatures, and it has an Attack on Titan kind of feel because you've got this huge massive version of this creature, and all of this is happening in Jerusalem, so it's thrown a little bit of Cloverfield into the mix there, and it throws a few little bits and bobs else into the mix, and while it doesn't actually work all the time, there's still enough to admire in the film for it to be entertaining. The creature design is quite well implemented in the movie. The shaky cam stuff is annoying as usual. When they're running and bouncing around, you just want to say, stop, because I'm going to vomit. I'm glad I'm not watching this with a VR headset on, because I would have just vomited all over the place. But yeah, it's tolerable. It's watchable. It's nowhere near good as, like, a couple of years ago I reviewed it, well, last year, but it was released a couple of years ago, I reviewed a film called Spring. It's not as inventive as that. And we're reviewing Hardcore Henry next week, and I've already seen another movie that we're reviewing in about a month's time called Pandemic. So it's not as good as the Pandemic, especially. It's not as good as that, but it's still entertaining enough.
So is it worth it having a Z in the title?
I think it just wants to be different. The Z indicates zombies, because
I figured that.
It indicates zombies when in fact the things involved are not zombies.
Oh, here we go again.
No, honestly, if you do watch it, they don't have any zombie tropes to them whatsoever. These creatures have wings. They've got a skeletal kind of look to them. They don't crave brains. They don't bite people's necks, rip people's intestines out, or anything like that. They're not resurrected from a corpse.
Okay.
So they're not resurrected from corpses at all. So they're not zombies. They're demons.
Okay. Moving on then to the rest of the show then, because that's all the reviews done for this week. We are going to, as usual, go through some other bits and pieces, but first of all will be our TV movies of the week.
I have 5.
Yeah, I've got 5 as well. No, sorry, 4 actually, because there's a whole thing with Film 4 has this whole thing of doing a dystopian future sort of nights from tomorrow onwards for the rest of the week.
When Film 4 does this,
they do some great selection of films, don't they, when they do this? They put together a great... I mean, so on this, I've got a few from that. So I've got Tuesday the 5th at 9 o'clock is Hunger Games Catching Fire, which is, we would probably agree, the best of the Hunger Games films.
Yeah, probably.
Wednesday the 6th of April at 9 o'clock is Oblivion.
Go for that one.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was muddled, but the soundtrack is fantastic.
It is. I do love the film as well, but the thing is, it's on 9 o'clock on Wednesday. That's my movie of the week, my TV movie of the week. But it's also, if you don't see it on Wednesday, it's also again on Monday night, again next week at 9 o'clock too. So you have the option to see it twice. And on Thursday night, the 7th at 10:40 p.m. is Dread. So you've got an option there of 3 great films over 3 nights. The other one as well that is worth saying is back on Channel 4, Saturday the 9th at 10 o'clock, the original Die Hard, which is just a classic film. If you haven't seen it, or if you've seen it a long time ago but thought it was maybe worth revisiting after all the other Die Hards, especially the recent ones, then go back and see how it is done.
Yeah, yippee-ki-yay for the mudges.
What about yours?
What?
What about yours?
My first one's on Film for tomorrow afternoon at 20 to 1, Paranorman.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's because the kids are still off, so they're still showing some kids' films. I really like Paranorman. It's got a nice little wit to it. The claymation zombie stuff, it's really well implemented. And I keep telling you this. It's sort of like you getting probably sick. You'll be sick of me actually suggesting this movie.
Studio Ghibli.
Similar to
Studio
no,
Ghibli.
It's not a Studio Ghibli movie. It's a movie that I said every single time I'll see it in the TV guide, I will mention it. On Movie Mix, 9 AM, Thursday of the 7th of April. So 9 o'clock in the morning. Red Dog.
Oh yeah.
I will mention that every single time because I want as many people to see
It'll
that
probably be
film.
on every week now then or something. You'll mention it every week.
Like Despicable Me. ITV love Despicable Me. Movie Mix also on 6:50 Friday the 8th. Again, this is not my movie, but I still suggest people watch it because it's slightly underrated. That Thing You Do, I really like that movie. I'm going to leave my TV movie of the week to last. On Friday the 8th at 25 to 5 in the afternoon, Sunshine on Leith. So there you go, there's your chance to actually watch the film.
Yeah, I missed it last time it was on.
So film 4.
Keep missing it.
Yep, but my film of the week is on Saturday the 9th on Film 4, also at 11:15. Part of the season that Film 4 is having is Xavier Gan's The Divide.
I did see that, but I still haven't seen it, so I need to try and catch that as well.
You do, but it's a really, really brutal movie. Xavier Gan does not hold back. I've already explained the kind of films that Gan has done in the past. Christophe Gans, his brother, did the first Silent Hill film, and the first Silent Hill film,
which I have actually seen,
is not bad. It's actually pretty decent for a video game movie, but The Divide is brutal. Milo Ventimiglia, I think that's how you pronounce his surname. He's in the movie and he's nasty. He's really nasty. So it is one of those movies where it sort of like leads you with into a sort of like a security. You think, oh, it's not going to be nasty, and then it just smacks you over there constantly with a sledgehammer. It sort of like, it might gives you a bit of a taste to come if you go to see Hardcore Henry, because that's rated 18 and that's supposed to be stupidly brutal. This gets into brutal territory. It's about a group of people who get locked into a bunker after a nuclear attack has happened.
Yeah.
And it's about how society breaks down inside this bunker. It's definitely worth a watch. So that's on Film 4 on Saturday the 9th at 11:15 at night.
Okay, so that's it for this week's show. Thank you for listening, however you have been listening. If you're listening to us live or other places afterwards, you can always find us at different places, but there is the website mondaymovieshow.co.uk. There is Twitter at Monday Movie Show. You can email us mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. You can find us on Facebook as well at facebook.com/Monday Movie Show. You can also tweet us individually. Stuart can be tweeted at Cryptic Tadpole. I can be tweeted at AHDVD. As you heard during the show, played an ad there for the From Page to Screen horror show, and they have other shows on during the week as well. You can check out their website, frompage2screen.com, and also as usual check out followingthenerd.com, who have always got updates, and they were updating everything nerd related, sort of 24 hours and 7 days a week really.
Following the Gamer.
Yep, and Following the Gamer as well, which is on Saturday nights. Is it every? I keep forgetting it's Saturday or
once a fortnight.
Every 2 weeks.
On a Friday night or Saturday night. We don't tie down with the date, and it's normally either 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
9 o'clock this Saturday, by the way.
And then this week's Monday Movie Show will actually be taking place on the Sunday. So you've got that Saturday night, and then you've got us on Sunday night.
Yay.
Yep. But we'll be going through a look of some of the newest films out next week, including there's one I'm really looking forward to called Midnight Special. Couldn't get a clip for that to play on the show because there weren't really many clips out for that, so we've gone for another film that comes out a couple of weeks time. To end the show, we've got a clip from Eye in the Sky, which is the one about drones and sort of drone warfare, with the final performance of Alan Rickman. So something in particular looking forwards to in a couple of weeks time. We'll play you out with a clip for that. Until Sunday night, we'll see you then. Bye bye.
Movie of the week.
Oh, I'll keep doing that, don't I? I had it here as well. I'm thinking movie of the week, and then I forgot. Yeah, movie of the week.
Eddie the Eagle.
Yeah, Eddie the Eagle. So until Sunday next week, when we will remember to do that.
Actually, it's pretty much this week.
Yeah.
You get 2 shows in a week, less than a week.
Yeah.
6 days.
6 days time. We'll leave you with this clip of Eye in the Sky. Until then, bye bye.
Bye.
What's the plan, Catherine?
We need to put a hellfire through that roof right now.
I told you they came
To witness a capture, not a kill. Give me a capture option.
We no longer have a capture option. Any action on the ground will lead to an armed confrontation, which we will not be able to contain.
They're watching. Even with the vests, we need their approval for a strike.
Just tell them we've got Danford in our sights. I mean, that alone should justify using a hellfire. The vests are just a bonus.
Danvers a British citizen. They want her alive.
They cannot have her alive. Frank, I've tracked her for 6 years. This is the closest I've ever got. So, we need to expand our rules of engagement right now to protect the civilian population. A hellfire through that roof is our most effective option.
We have to know that we're legally in the clear.